This is Jordan's Cocktail Hour, and I'm your host, Jordan Soul. This is a podcast for, about, and by LGBT asylum seekers and refugees in the Netherlands, made by COCLimburg. COC is our national LGBT rights organization, and Cocktail is the name of our project for this very special group of newcomers, who I like to refer to as family. However, anyone else who wants to join us is welcome. So, welcome family to our second podcast. On today's episode, my guest co-hosts will be Tim and Jermaine, and our guests will be Ninouschka from Impire Oppurtunity Center, Tamam with his wonderful story, and Lamin with his amazing spoken word piece. So let's do this. Okay, this is our second podcast of Jordan's Cocktail Hour.
Welcome back.
Welcome, guys. Thank you so much. The last episode was really great. Today we have some other things that we want to talk about. What did you guys think of the first episode? How was that experience for you?
It was really great seeing and seeing everyone talking about their experiences. As I mentioned last time, I think it's very important that we share these messages and that everyone feels like they're connected in these strange times during the COVID-19. And I think it's also great to share this because I think it's important for other people who are not a refugee to know these kind of stories, to know what the kind of sentiment is within these subjects. So yeah, that's really for me why I joined.
I absolutely agree. You know, it's refreshing, you know, to have a voice, to hear voices, you know, from a marginalized community, and I think the people received it well. I think it was nice for all of us to kind of reconnect after a long time, to have something that, you know, an activity to say, okay, here's something new that kind of unites us in the absence of our regular cocktail events. I think it was a great idea, and I hope the other 9 episodes will be successful and more voices can be heard, and yeah, hopefully it can grow even bigger than that. Maybe more episodes.
Well, people don't know about it yet, and I think once they start to watch it, they will come up with their own questions and ideas about it. That's what I'm hoping, and that's what I want to encourage, is that people watching or listening will contact us and say, hey, I want to be on and I want to tell my story, or I have some talent, or I have something that I want to share. Today's kind of semi-topic has to do with the IND and this thing called the task force that they started. There's a lot of problems with people's cases at the moment. It's really, really bad. And things were already not so good, you know, to say the least. Originally the IND was behind schedule for 6 months, then a year and a half that people are waiting just to get their first interview, which was already really bad. But then they came up with their own deadline, is to try to finish 14,000 cases or something before the end of this year. And just recently they announced that they were not going to make that deadline, and that they only did 6,500 cases. But in order to accomplish their goal, they put in this task force, which was supposed to help them to speed up the process of all those interviews. And what we are finding at the moment is that it's really not going well. Strange things are happening. In the second interview, they are stopping the interview, and then they are saying, we need to find an IND employee who is more experienced with LGBT cases. And then after that, they put them in the extended procedure, which is really terrible, because that could be easily another 6 months of waiting. And then they want to give them a third interview. To me, it sounds like some weird excuse, like to just get all those cases, you know, on paper, and that it looks like they did something when nothing is happening. And Sandro clearly is working really hard on this problem, and we are just also wondering what the legal ramifications are, if people are really getting a good interview by people who are so inexperienced. And whether it's legal for them to stop all those interviews, and whether it's legal for them to put so many people in an extended procedure after that. So there clearly are legal steps that have to be taken for that. So we're trying to find out, you know, if it's all legal. But I think for our group, it's really, really bad, because if you're already waiting almost 2 years to start your interview, that's not even the end of it, that's the beginning. And then for it to be cut off and then you have to wait again is not doing great things for the mental state of the people that I'm working with at the moment. So it's really, really sad. And we will keep updating everybody about the situation, and also Sandro will keep updating about it. Yeah, and we hope that... The problem is that I think we all see a problem, but not necessarily, and we can point it out, but we don't see a solution yet. Because even they admit, yes, we're behind, and yes, things aren't going well. And they wrote a letter to everybody saying that, but like, so what? Like, it doesn't change anything.
And I can't even imagine why why people are putting those people there to question the refugees, because they aren't experienced, and I mean, these are people's lives, and why should you wait for this interview so long, waiting in stress and loneliness? Maybe it's really sad to hear that. Well,
and in their file it should clearly say it's an LGBT case, so why would you only in the second interview figure out that you need someone more experienced? It sounds a little bit like people who don't know what they're doing, or they're given an excuse. And I guess when you're trying to do 14,000 cases in 6 months, you have to do what you have to do.
And they weren't even on half, because it was, you said 6,000?
500.
Yeah.
It is now increased, right? They're estimating it will go up to 18,000 by the end of the year?
Yes, and there's also a point where if the IND doesn't give a decision about a case on the date that they're supposed to, then the government has to start paying the person money every day that passes where they don't get a decision. And yeah, they're talking about 17 million euros per year or something for, so very, very bad situation. Usually we have problems that we see a problem, we try to offer a solution and push for it. Here we can only show that there's a big problem, but I don't know that there's any quick solution to this. So we're really sad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the issue is really within the party who is also making the judgment.
Yeah, the party that's is at fault is the one also having to make the decisions to change it. And you know, if you're working for them and it's not the money that they're paying out is not coming out of their pockets personally, it's coming from the government. So there's not a lot of pressure to do it. So anyway, that's the current situation that I think so many people are dealing with. But I wanted to bring up a different topic. I wanted to show an interview that I did with Ninouschka. She has her own school, and she contacted me, I don't know, this last summer. And I have to say that when she contacted me, I had no idea who she was or what she wanted. I just thought she sounded really nice, and I'll meet with you. And then we met and really had a really nice connection.
Oh, cool.
And anyway, in the interview, it'll show what I asked her to do and what she's been doing. So let's look at that. Yes. One of the things I really wanted to work on this coming year with COCLimburg and my group is to focus more on education, because education on many levels is a problem for our group, mostly because when they are in the AZC, the refugee center, they are not allowed to do anything. And once they get their status to stay in this country, there's a whole project and thing that happens that's also important to know about. So a few months ago, I met this really special lady that I invited on the show today. Ninouschka, I will let you introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. My name is Ninouschka Madretsma. I'm the director of a school called Impire Oppurtunity Center, and we help refugees integrating.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit to everyone, what does our government expect from you when you are an asylum seeker who gets their status?
Yes. Well, as soon as you get your status, then you are applied to integrate, and that means that you have to do the language courses and also the integration courses. You also have to sign up a participation declaration. That means that you prove that you are willing to integrate properly here in the Netherlands, and we help you with that.
Okay.
So the first thing you have to do is to look for a very good school who can help you with the things you are obliged to do.
Right,
Yeah.
because that's when I first met you, you explained to me that you had started your own school and that you were interested in focusing more on our group. What made you interested in this particular group of LGBT asylum seekers?
Yeah, asylum seekers as a group is also a very vulnerable group, but I've seen that the LGBT group is even more vulnerable, especially for the chances on the labor market. They are very, well, there are not so many chances you get on the labor market because you're from a foreign country, you have another kind of presence. And even in Holland, where it's accepted that you are different, it's still on the labor market a very, it's an issue. So since we are a social involved company, a non-profit organization, and we help vulnerable groups to integrate, that's why we got the focus on the LGBT people.
Well, we think it's great. So there are two different sections, like I said before. There's the people that are still in the centers and are waiting for status or their interview that cannot do very much. And then there are the people that will get their status and will move on to proper school. When we met, I asked you to see what you could do for the first group because they are stuck in an AZC all the time, and I wanted to see what could you offer them.
We also find it a pity that people are sitting waiting for months and doing nothing, right, with the time. So we offer them free classes until they get a permit. As soon as they get a permit, they continue the classes, but then it's being funded by the government. And that means that as soon as you want to attend, you can attend, and then you get work visits, field trips, Dutch language courses, and integration lessons for free until you've got your permit. Then you go on with the lessons, and then the government is paying for the rest. The most great advantage which you get from this is that you don't spend your time doing nothing, but you reduce the time learning. So we do approximately 12 to 18 months with us, our school. You get your integration exam and pass it, and then you are a Dutch citizen. And as soon as you start beginning learning, then it's better for you. Then you can start working even faster.
Right. So again, so the difference is that you're doing like a pre-school kind of thing before the actual normal school starts. And that's for the people who don't have a permit, and that's free. And you are actually offering that for free, which, by the way, thank you for that. And listening to me about that idea. But then what happens once they get the permit? You say it's government funded. How does that work?
I can't go into the specifics of that because every situation is different. You know, every asylum seeker is different and has a different situation, and DUO has a lot of rules checking your situation and how much loan you get for that. So, but DUO, that's the government party who is doing this, funding this study for you. They will check your situation and they will decide how much loan you will get doing this course. And you don't have to pay it. DUO pays directly to the school.
Okay, and do you then have to pay the loan back later or no?
No, if you are a refugee, you don't have to pay it back. But if you are an asylum migrant, you have a partner here, or you come for different reasons here, then you have to pay the loan back.
Right.
But not when the IND decides that you are a true refugee who is seeking for refuge. Then you don't have to pay it back, unless you don't pass your exam. Then they say, okay, you didn't do what you had to do, so then we take the money back.
Well, that should be a good motivation to do well in school.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really fun at our school because we combine it with practical learning. You know, we go on the streets, we go to galleries, we go to musea, we go to work visits. We've got tutors from different companies. We've got the Rotary International who is joining us and who is also funding us, and that's really great because then you can go and visit hospitals and the biggest specialized work places. So
you're basically taking them and showing them around the Netherlands and different job opportunities so they can see and get a feel for maybe what they will want to study or what they will want to do later. But
exactly,
what I think is interesting about your school is that a lot of schools do every segment separately, but you're trying to do sort of everything at the same time so that you can and learn the language and integrate and start looking for the job that you want.
Exactly. When you apply and join us, then first we have an intake. Then we discuss the program. We discuss how much lessons do you need, what kind of period, what is your educational level, what kind of work do you like to do, what are your skills, and then we go make that program and we'll get you into internships. And so the employer can also look what you're capable of. And when you've got your status, then it will be a paid internship and a paid job. Next to that, you are learning the language. So it's a combined package.
I think that's really how life works, right? You should learn everything sort of as you are doing it and experiencing it. And I think if you're going out and going to companies and meeting people, you're also practicing language skills at the same time and saving a lot of time. Since what's really important to our group is that they're already sitting around waiting sometimes for years to get started with their life. And if you then have to wait 3 more years to finish all of that schooling and then focus on what actual school you want to go to, it's really a lot of wasted time.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's why we have an integration program from 12 to 18 months. Then you are finished. But at a normal school, it's approximately 2 to 3 years before you are finished. You know, the integration with our program is very fast. So and you learn. You know it also when you are at a workplace. Then everybody's speaking Dutch. You know, so you are obliged to speak Dutch yourself, so it goes faster. Yeah, you learn.
I think language is the key, to your success in this country. So anybody, I can vouch for it. It's not an easy language, but if once you learn it, like anything, it's it really will get you further. How did you start the sessions already for the people that are still in the AZC centers?
We started the group in Maastricht, and we've got a collaboration with LBG Hotels. LBG Hotels offers the internships, and we rent their location. It's a location in their hotels. Very nice people also. And yeah, the people, the students come to there, and then from 12 to 4 on Fridays we have the lessons. I make copies. I will bring the materials because you don't have to pay anything, only your transportation. But yeah, then we start the lessons, and you will learn the Dutch language
Okay.
with the group.
Well, so far, everyone that I've heard from is very happy and enthusiastic about what you're doing. I'm super grateful because I've had this idea for a really long time and felt that I didn't really know what I could do about it. I just saw a problem and didn't know how to solve it. And I have to say, I think you're probably the first one in this country who's actually doing this. So I really want to say thanks for that because it's really appreciated.
That's what we do because we act from out of the drive that your ambition makes it possible for us to make a difference in your life, right? So we've got personalized individual programs. It's tailor-made, and that means that it's more effective. So yeah, that's and I'm very happy to do that, and I'm very happy that the students are really satisfied. Yeah.
I think everyone is so frustrated, sitting around wanting to learn, wanting to do stuff and not able to do anything. And with Corona, also it's put a delay on everything that's going on for this group. So yeah, great. You're looking to expand this around the country?
Yes. We now did a pilot in Maastricht, and we've got applications for Eindhoven, Utrecht, Almere, Amsterdam. We've got locations over there. So it's growing. So that's good because we are centrally. So everybody who wants to apply can apply for it, and then start. Yeah.
So those that are watching right now and they are it's a great idea. What should they do? They should contact you?
They should contact me send me an email or a text message. Then I will call you back, and then we'll have a meeting for an intake, and we will start the program. As easy as that.
Awesome. We love easy because things are complicated enough in this world.
Enough, right. It is.
Yeah, okay. Well, I will also at some point bring you back in some later episode, and we can do some updates about the school. And maybe we can also bring someone in that's taking your class who can speak from experience.
Yes.
And if people have questions about it, they can also email me, and I can also put them in contact with you. So I really want to thank you, certainly for all of the hard work, certainly for the extra mile that you've been going for some of our people that I know. I look forward to the next year to see what we can accomplish and how big we can get this project. And we hope to see you the next time.
Thank you, Jordan. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that was the interview. What did you think about it?
I agree with you as well. When she first did the presentation here at COCLimburg in Maastricht, she was this warm personality. She was engaging, and the fact that she really wanted to reach out to the LGBT community was amazing because it's nice for us to always be connected, even outside the procedures. And she knew that there was that vulnerability that when you go out, you kind of like have to struggle to find where to go. And with schools, I'm sure we all know the news. There was the schools scandal earlier this year. So I think even me, I was also afraid.
Actually, I don't know that everybody knows about the school scandal.
Yeah, well, I read the news too much.
No, I'm just saying for the people who don't know.
So the Minister of Education, was that?
No, private schools were kind of taking refugees for a ride, being not so clear and transparent with the process. So it became something that was a shock that, oh wow, refugees are actually that vulnerable.
It used to be controlled by the government, the schooling, and then it went private, which meant that basically anybody could make a school or say, I'm a school. And they get the money, but maybe they are not able to really offer the service. And so they took, like you said, a lot of people for a ride, and they didn't get what they needed, but the money was paid. Which is also why I think Ninouschka is amazing, because I feel like I really trust her with this group. Yeah, so for me it's a big step to say like I trust somebody with this whole group, because I didn't really know her, but I just feel like she has the group's best interest at heart.
No, that's true. I've been to a class, 2 of them actually, and it's so easy because it's all of us, it's the community, we know each other. And she also has experts, people who've been teaching the Dutch language for a very long time. So she chips in, and then the expert is also there. It's a really interactive process, as she also described. She sent us materials by post. It's really amazing. For free, by the way. Yeah, for free.
That's really exceptional.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
For free.
Yeah, for free, from her own time and money, just because she believes in this group. And she didn't know, but I when we met, I was like, great, okay, so maybe I introduce you into this group and you will make a lot of money from the status holders, you know? So, okay, it's a commercial interest. But to balance that out, I said, you know, there is this whole group that's just sitting around and doesn't have anything to do and wants to learn but can't.
Yeah.
What can you do for them? And she really went the extra mile and just worked this out, even during Corona, which is already in itself a challenge.
True. And she travels all the way from far in Amsterdam. Yeah.
So she comes right here to Maastricht and then teach. Okay.
Yeah. All the major cities where at least many people can group up together, which is, I thought that was fantastic. You know, it's so that in case that if you do move to another location, you can still find her in another city. I was like, wow.
Which was our second, kind of our issue with it, because we were like, yeah, that we can offer something, but people move around. So how can we compensate that? So she's thought of everything. She's on top of the whole thing. I'm really looking forward to seeing, you know, what is going to happen in this coming year, because I know that she has the power to really expand it. And I think that's really amazing that she's doing that. So we want to thank her for that.
Yeah, and I also think it's important that this is going on, because I can imagine if you have the status that you'll have to think about, okay, what is the next move, because you have always been for these several years to succeed in this process, and then you get it, and then it's like, oh wait, what should I do now?
Which was another point, which is why I also talked about it in the interview, because I think a lot of people, they had no idea. They're just sitting around and indeed focus on getting status. But when you get the status is also when there's like this whole cycle that starts. It's really the beginning. And people don't, I think it's better to tell people a little bit ahead of time what's about to happen.
True. I think she does that so well. Yeah. She mentions that she takes 18 months compared to 3 years. I love that. And also you can go to school and work at the same time. I was like, yes.
Yeah, like an internship. She arranges it with people.
Yeah.
Making it practical.
Practical, yeah.
Yeah, because I think when you're actually working, you're learning the language at the same time. Yeah. So anyway, we're super grateful for what she does. And we will definitely also bring her back and some people that are taking her classes to get us updated on that. Which brings me to our next segment. I'm going to bring in Tamam. Okay. So we like to welcome Tamam.
Tamam.
Welcome, everybody.
We just heard, what does your name mean?
Oh, my name. It's an Arabic name and it means the dark side of the moon. It's too romantic. Oh. Some people misunderstood it for the Turkish word tamam.
Yeah.
But no, in Arabic.
What does the Turkish word mean?
Fine, okay.
Yeah, because that's what they were telling us, that it means that. But you're saying dark side of the moon.
Yeah, my parents were so thinking of deep stuff when they named me.
Cool. Yeah. I really like it. So on this podcast, we always like to give someone from the group an opportunity to tell their story or part of their story or whatever they want to share. Funny thing is, I know you for quite some time, but actually we never sat down and really talk about any of that. I also think that it's important, like on our last podcast, we had Dre and Otis' story, which is, quite difficult at the moment, but not every LGBT refugee story is this difficult. So I want to show every aspect of what happens in this process, because it's about the process. So tell us what you want to tell us.
Okay. Actually, yes, my story is not as hard as other stories I've heard in this country, because I came here through plane.
From where?
From Syria to Hungary first. For 2 years I had a scholarship to study there in Hungary. And after this, I had to make a choice to go back to Syria, or I'm Syrian, by the way.
Yes.
And to go back to Syria or to come to the Netherlands. And I got the second scholarship to come here for studies, for a short summer school program. And when it ended, I decided to go to Terapel. This is where everybody goes to seek asylum, almost everybody. And there I did it. It was the biggest decision I've ever made in my life, and I hope it will change it for the best. Because in Syria, it's not very stable for LGBTQ people. Also in Hungary, they have some restrictions, let me say. Yeah. So this is how I came here.
But when did you make the choice to, did you make the choice in Hungary, or did you make the choice when you were here to ask for the asylum?
I made this choice when I was in Rotterdam. During this short summer program, I had plans to go to the UK to find a scholarship to the UK, but it didn't work. I wanted to go to study in London, but I ended up in the, as it say, the camp of Weert. And this is a funny story actually, because in Weert there are many buildings and each building has a name.
Yes.
It's named after British cities, and the city that I got on my building is London, so I was living in London.
But not the way you expected.
Not the London that I expected, exactly. Yeah.
But so, okay, well, you say it's easy. It still, to me, sounds like quite a story. If this is the easy,
it's
easy version.
Easier compared to other stories. People come here through the sea, through forests, through rivers, dangerous ways. So I came like in a safer way, but it's still a great decision needed to be made.
It's a life-changing decision.
Yes, the moment you seek asylum, everything changes. The daily routines, the mentality, the way of thinking, the decisions you take, people you are surrounded by, everything changes.
Was it like a little over a year ago?
It was exactly 15 months ago.
Right.
Yeah, and this is how it started in Weert, in the camp of Weert. And then luckily I got the status in July. After 10 months of waiting, actually it was supposed to take only 6 months, as everybody knows. But because of Corona and because of other complications from IND,
yes,
it took 10 months. It was good in a sense, but also it was still too long waiting for getting the status. And yeah, they made the interview with me exactly at the last day of the allowance. I mean, they had like extended for 4 months after 6, and they made the interview exactly at this last day. Yeah.
They stretched it as far as they could stretch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got the decision a few days after, which is also considered lucky because some people go through the extended procedure, which is, you never know when you get over of this. Yeah.
But I guess for you, it's a kind of like a double asylum in the sense that, okay, Syria in itself is enough reason to ask for asylum.
Yeah.
And then being LGBT on top of that. I mean, I also know some people in the group who never even mentioned that they were gay. They just went through because they were from Syria.
Being Syrian, gay, with certain political, religious points of view, I think it makes my story more authentic, and it makes it easier to believe by the authorities here. But I understand why some people, they don't speak explicitly about their situation as homosexuals, LGBTQ, coming from a war-torn country, because they never know how is the situation out there. They just know how is it in Syria, maybe. It's hard to imagine. Yeah.
Well, you know, we like to hear good stories with good endings.
Yes.
And congratulations, you know, on your status.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
What, when you got the status, what month?
I got it in July, 4 months ago.
And now what's happening?
Oh yeah, here it's like somebody pushed the on button. So life went on again. I started Dutch lessons in the camp. They offer us some hours for learning Dutch. I'm doing well, and this is all I'm doing now actually, because this time, this period after you get your status, it's the most important thing is to start learning the language, because this is a country where I would spend at least 5 years. So it's important to learn the language. Also some technical issues like opening a bank account and registering in the municipality, getting stuff like that. And yeah, focusing on the language is what makes me feel alive, actually. Progress and feel satisfied about what I do every day. Yeah.
Well, the other part of that process is that once you get the status and you're in this stage that Tamam is in, the government will assign you a city to actually move to, which you don't have a lot of input on. There are some situations where you can have some influence, but almost now it's like a Russian, not a Russian roulette, but like a roulette. That depending on, you know, what your situation is, where you will end up. Did you get a city assigned to you?
I got a city. Actually, since I started in Rotterdam in this summer school in Erasmus MC, I just wanted to go back to the city where I started. But I requested this through COA and in the camp, but I didn't get it because they said it's not necessarily to get what you want. So they assigned me to the closest municipality to Rotterdam they could, which is Breda. Yeah. Which is, I find it okay. Yeah.
Not bad.
It's not bad, yeah. I've never been there, to be honest, but
it's
I
nice.
expect it to be a nice place to live in.
It's a nice city.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's lucky as well, kind of.
Yes, I consider it lucky. I always say this.
I wanted to find out, how is the Syrian community here with you being gay at the same time? I know it can be a shock for some of them that they're actually gay people.
Yes, actually, I can tell you about the camp where I live now because I'm surrounded by people, Syrian people actually, and they find it weird. They always think maybe this guy is not Syrian. Oh. Yeah, they think maybe he's some, they don't know, I don't know. They always make assumptions. Oh, you speak Arabic? Oh, you're from Syria? I say, yes. So yeah, it's hard. I don't know how they think about it, but for me, just consider those people like anybody else. They are suffering because they are waiting for their status, and it's also hard for me to be with people who have not got their status yet, because it's seeing your friends being absorbed up and could do nothing to help them, and it's really hard situation. Yeah.
I also think, knowing you a little bit, you are surrounded also by a lot of LGBT people from your country or other countries that speak maybe Arab, that you have a nice group of people around you.
Yeah, this is the perfect thing that I have now. Like, I have this kind of small group from many countries, Syrians, Arabs, even Dutch, where I can communicate better, express myself better here. Even still, I'm still really fresh in this country. But with this group, it makes it really more livable, let me say.
Of course.
Yeah. Like going out, like having you guys here, having these meetings. Also events done by COC before COVID-19, of course. It was also a chance to meet a lot of people. And one thing to mention, that the lawyer that helped me with my case, I met him through a COC event. There was like a meeting to make asylum seekers meet the lawyers here, and he helped me a lot actually. And yeah, so these kind of events, that the people that I met in the AZCs in the camps before and here, it always made it like more livable with this group. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it was, I know it was a positive experience for you.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to hear that, you know.
Yeah.
Because we don't necessarily always talk about these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's also not always seen. Like, people think that we live in the camp, we live in the AZC, we never show up, we never do anything, we're just waiting for something to happen. But on the contrary, many people, they have like meetings, they have friends, they have things to do, languages to learn, and cities to explore, actually.
I think a lot of it is also based on your personality, you know. I see in this group some people really thrive and they just go out there and make their own contacts and
take initiative.
Yeah, take the initiative.
Yeah, going around. I mean, of course, not everybody does that, but yeah, I see some people, they are still able to manage their daily lives, to make their own little routine, to help them to overcome these hard periods. I mean, waiting for 2-3 years, knowing nothing about your future, it's so hard. Even for me at the beginning, I always wanted to learn Dutch, even before seeking asylum, but could never do it while I'm waiting for the IND to give me a decision.
Right.
So I understand how it could be hard, but also we're still fighting, let me say. Yeah. in many ways. Each one has his own way to fight. Yeah.
So if you don't have a status yet, you can't even learn the language.
No, that's why Ninouschka does what she is doing, and that's why I asked her to do that. There's a whole complicated system behind it. There is some schooling in the AZC sometimes, but it's a really long story. But many people just cannot learn anything officially.
Yeah, it's not consistent.
It's just waiting.
And especially now with these really long delays with everything, it's absurd. Like, we should just do as much as we can for the whole group, you know, to let them learn or to do volunteer work or even to work.
Yes, actually I wanted to volunteer before I get my status. I sent some emails to some organizations like the Red Cross, something like this, but never got an answer in the right time. So yeah, I ended up just making some small routines, trying to learn Dutch. Couldn't succeed every time, but I mean by my own, trying to learn Dutch by my own. Never succeeded as I wanted, but after I got the status, we're allowed to get some hours, some Dutch lessons in the camp, and this helps a lot. And actually, it would be really beneficial for everyone if they could start Dutch lessons.
I think what they do is they only give the Dutch lessons to the people that they know will get status or have status, because otherwise they think maybe it's a waste of money, but...
Okay, it's... at least some people are doing this, like the school that you mentioned. Yeah, some people are still doing this, and good luck to them because people really need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what are your plans in terms of a job? Do you have a kind of a job you either think?
For the job, actually, I'm not sure yet if I would go for a PhD or to take it to look for a job. I'm still considering the opportunities here, but I think I'd go more for a job because it's when you finish the language, when you're ready to go to the job market. Yeah, there is a lot to be done. This is what I think. I've never explored the job market here yet, let me say, but I hope it's there would be something for everyone to do. Yeah.
I think so. I think so. And you seem like somebody who's really positive and ready to go.
Thank you.
So
I hope I'll keep this.
I think so. So anyway, I really appreciate you coming here today and telling your part of your story. And we think it's great. And like I said, it's good to show the positive stories and the negative stories to keep things a little bit in balance and not too depressing.
Thank you guys for hosting me here. And thank you for everything you do for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Okay. I thought Tamam was really, really great. I think it's really an amazing thing to show this story. But I have brought back Sandro again for, I want him like every episode if possible to give a little update about what's going on now. And since we were talking already about the task force problem, I asked him about it in this interview.
So today, as promised, I wanted to bring back Sandro for a quick talk about what's current at the moment. One of the things we've been talking about is the problems everyone is experiencing with the task force and the IND and with their interviews. The IND was supposed to finish about 14,000 cases, I think, before the end of the year. They didn't succeed, sadly. And let's just talk about the 6,500 cases they did succeed with. They're kind of all a mess, and many, many strange things are happening. So Sandro, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, end of November, we've sent an urgent letter to the junior minister because we get a lot of signals about refugees who have an interview of only 1 hour, waiting for 2 years, and then getting an interview of 1 hour or 2 hours. And after this 2 hours, they get to hear, sorry, but we need to get someone more experienced from the IND. And that's it. And this is totally unacceptable what is happening. What you see is that the task force is about a group of new officers with no experience. They follow a training of 2 weeks, and then they suddenly can do interviews. Making interviews for LGBT refugees is very complex. It's not only about that you need to have knowledge about the country, you need to have also knowledge about LGBT. And that's something you can't learn in 2 weeks. What is happening now is that many, they go in a prolonged procedure, VA, we call this, VA, but it is unsure when they will have their interviews next year. And early December, all refugees got a letter in which the IND is saying, we will not meet our goal this year and we are sorry for this. But that's not enough. They need to have a perspective when their interviews will be, but also what is perhaps even more important is that the interviews they have had now, we see that the officers, they are just speeding up. You have to talk very quickly. The translations are not always suitable. And we are worried about the quality of the whole procedure. And also the interviews, how they are going to be used, because they are official documents.
I think that what's especially painful about it is that the IND was already so behind schedule, up to 1.5 years behind schedule in interviews. And then, of course, we had Corona, which made another delay for everyone.
Yeah.
And then finally, people started getting interviews, and then this is happening. So it's really especially frustrating for the group, and it's so horrible.
Well, for the group, it's mostly, I think it's also frustrating because AZC's are not a safe place. With Corona, you can't go to other places beside your AZC, and here you are still waiting another half year longer. And that's totally unacceptable. LGBT refugees are a group at risk in their AZC, and they need to have, like other people, a quick procedure with the right persons. We urge the junior minister, for example, make clear to the IND that the lawyers, if a lawyer already knows that the refugee is LGBT, let this know by the IND. So it means that you will not have this fake interview, but that you will get right away an officer who is experienced. This is something, and that's simple to do, and we don't understand it, that this kind of knowledge should be there, that they are not using this.
Yes, I've been advising everyone right away to ask the IND in their interview if they are experienced with LGBT people.
Yeah.
Totally ridiculous. What can we do about it? Is there anything?
Well, we did research to LGBT refugees. This research is now in the report Heroes, and it will come out before the end of next week. And that means about 10 December, we will overhand this to the House of Parliament and to the junior minister that this needs to change. Yeah.
Okay, so because this is pre-recorded, we will get an update from you about that on the 3rd or 4th episode to see how that went.
Yeah, but I can also give a small example what happened. Because, for example, this week we had for the first time someone who was doing a hearing, a written hearing, and we did not advise this because a written hearing means that you get only 4 hours to write down your whole story. And what happens with him is that with this story, after this he got his interview, and they tried to give him a negative. And we thought, how is this possible? The guy comes from Iran. His whole story is clear. And what happened also in this week, the IND tried to give him a negative. In the same week, the junior minister answered some questions in House of Parliament. And one of the things was about, again, this word, bewustwordingsproces. So what happened is that in his interviews, also the IND was using still the old terms. And although the answers from the junior minister were only 1 day old, we made a clear letter to the IND. This was on Wednesday, and on Friday he got his positive. They took back the decision. And this is how we work, because with answers, with information like this, we are using this directly for the group of LGBT refugees.
Yeah, that was a big win. I'm so impressed about that. Like we just said, we should have that quote put on a T-shirt when people go into their interview.
Don't ask about my bewustwordingsproces.
Yeah. It's really obscene, really, to think that we can judge people from all these different countries on this Western kind of process that gay people might go through, because it's not going to be the same. And anyway, I'm glad that happened. I want to say congratulations on that one. Yeah. And we will have you back on the next episode to update us on all of that stuff.
Yes, please. Okay, thank you.
Sandro. Okay, bye.
So what did you think about what Sandro had to say?
I like that he follows up. He's really consistent with that, and it's great that he has that oomph, that political muscle to actually say something is not right with the system, and that he actually, from the bottom of his heart, he dedicates so much time from his private life to volunteer to do this for us. I love that he keeps going on, pressing Parliament, the Tweede Kamer, and he's really, really trying, and he's going extra mile. Obviously, he's in touch with you and other coordinators that he can. I love that. Power to Sandro.
Yes. Actually, he explained to me that they actually complained to him that he sent like 6 brandbrieven, as we call them, to the government, and they said it's a little bit much. That just shows
the issues.
There's the issues. I mean, if we get rid of the issues, then we don't have to send 5,000 letters complaining about everything that's going on. So yeah, kudos to our Sandro, and we thank him for joining us every time, and hopefully he can join us the next time with some news again. I also ask every time if there's anybody with a specific kind of talent. On our last episode, we had Shiba, who showed a little piece of what she can do, but we're going to bring her back one day and really let her do it. But one of our group members told me a long time ago that he does spoken word, and then he sent me a sample of it, and I was really impressed by it. So I asked him to do a video for us so that he can showcase his talent, because it's really huge, if you ask me. So let's look at that video.
I am an ocean, squeezed into the body of a fallen fruit. I am daylight, bleached into becoming darkness. I am this righteous meat in the soup of life, so tasty that it makes death tremble. I am truth tailored into abomination. I am this child who never wants to go back home, because home is full of promises of nothingness. I am not that innocent anymore. I be as present as a child in the womb, as the blood in the veins, as the trees in the wind, as the seeds in the ground, as the birds in the skies, as the diamonds in the rough. I say this because I feel I am the boy, the father, the blood, and the sea. Yet you accuse my love for sinning. Made one too many of us afraid of who we are. You shrink us into a poem, fold us into a corner, undress us of respect, eavesdrop on our conversations to clothe the skeletons of your misconceptions, then thieve us of our bodies, sweep our silence into a cascade, and leave our corpses wallowing on the streets. The silence of the night creeps like a thief under my skin, comes to hug my bones, comes to feast on my laughter, comes to weave me into oblivion, comes to remind me that I am the child who can only run into becoming a boy, but never a boy enough to run into a man. Sir, do you think I am too complicated to have your conflicted complications answered? Sir, do you want to fold my 67th question to deteriorate into an innuendo? Sir, Do you want to add my body as another forgotten song to your funeral playlist? See, I have laid my lips to milk the breast of sunlight. Each of my silences have fought a battle of their own. I am only but a child of God, dressed in myself only. I have learned to grow and listen, even when I am destroyed, condemned of love. So elongate the scarcity of my mind. Call my lover a taboo. Ask us to pray ourselves away. I am a tender universe. I only break into twilight. Men have lived inside me. I have memorized each of their dreams. I am shifting into an ocean, finding the remains of my master's mistakes. The master is my father and I love him, but he is not here anymore to witness my love. So help me transform this body into a museum, to donate love over to the fuck boys charity. The seeds of my father brings forth the child. I have ripped out so much of myself to be here, prayed with my feet buried up in the sand, farewell time to host my wounds, to enunciate my pain. Still I rise and dance and sing with smiles as sweet as sugarcane. Thank you.
Okay, so I didn't mention his name. His name is Lamin Barrow. And I have to say that spoken word thing really made the hair in the back of my neck kind of stand up.
It gave us chills.
Chills.
It was really intriguing because he has that kind of rhythm in his voice and with his speaking. And yeah, so what did you think?
Skip a beat,
Yeah,
you know, just flowed.
And from memory is, you know, like I was saying, like I don't even remember my grocery list, let alone something so complicated, intricate. Anyway, we really want to thank him for that contribution because I think he's really a super talent.
I love the reference to Maya Angelou, Still I Rise. Woo!
Yes, that's a good point that you put in there.
Poets.
Still I Rise.
Yeah, but I felt it. You know, I felt the rise and like his power. So we have a lot of talent in this group, you know? So it's really so nice to see that.
I hope I'll write a poem one day. I've always wanted to do poetry.
Well, why not? You can be our next showcase. Yeah, so anyway, that was kind of what we have for today. How do you want to sum up this episode? What did you feel like you learned from it?
I really loved Tamam's story, the story of positivity. I loved his vibe, you know. I think it's contagious. I think if it can just spread around to everybody, just to touch somebody, to say, okay, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We have to hold on.
Can I ask you, do you find it difficult to hear people going through the process so fast while you're still waiting? What is that?
I have a bad day. Not today.
Because that's got to be frustrating. You know, of course you want to be like, yay, good for you. But meanwhile, you're like, hello.
Yeah, true. No, it's not every day, but most of the times I'm like, oh gosh, our people are winning. I actually love that because for the good of the community, I think that's the type of person that I am.
And it gives hope.
It gives hope.
Also for your case.
Yeah, it gives so much hope. So it's good to see our people winning. And of course, it helps that it's from Syria. But I'm hopeful, you know, it looks nice, it looks promising, and as long as we have stories from him, Sandro pushing on the other side, and you know, everybody helping along the way, I think it helps to give that positivity and that shining light to people to say that, hold on.
And I hope with this podcast we also shine a light on it and put some, help with some awareness of what's, I think with Corona, a lot of other stories that are happening are getting snowed under because we're so obsessed with it. I mean, it makes sense. But this is also going on, and it's not always a pretty story.
Yeah, hopefully the podcast will stimulate that interaction, more conversations.
Yes. And especially this story, it helps also other people think about what they want to do when they receive the status.
What I also find is a lot of people, when I ask them, like, you were from whatever country, far, far away, how did you decide of all the places to go to come here to the Netherlands? And the answer is almost always the same, because someone told them or they Googled and they looked it up. to see like, well, the Netherlands is the most liberal country for LGBT, you know, blah, blah, blah. So, but now they are here, and I think it's important for them to share their story, because yes, we're liberal, and yes, you know, everything is possible here, but not without its complications and not without its challenges. So maybe there are people also that will watch that are still in their country thinking to come here. Maybe it gives them a little of a heads up of, you know,
in perspective.
A little less shock.
Yeah, true. I mean, problems, they're everywhere. They're unavoidable. We can only do our best.
Yes. Okay, guys. Well, I want to thank you again for being my co-hosts.
Thank you for shedding a light on these subjects.
Cocktail hour.
For the cocktail hour.
I know, and we don't have any cocktails. What's wrong with this picture? Water and coffee cocktails.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, thanks so much, and we'll see you the next episode. Thank you so much for being with us today. We hope that you will join us next time, and please share our podcast with your friends. We really want to thank COCLimburg, Peet Reinders, Mika, Roel, Marlon, my co-hosts Tim and Jermaine, and our special guests Tamam, Lamin, and of course Sandro. Do you have any questions, ideas, or comments? Or do you want to be on our next episode with a talent or to tell your story? Please let us know. WhatsApp only 06 111 209 90, or send us an email at cocktail@coclimburg.nl. Thanks for being there. We'll see you next time.